Welcome to the Deconstructing Data live stream and podcast. I'm Jessie Lezak, fractional CMO at BDEX, along with BDEX's founder and CEO, David Finkelstein. Happy Thursday, David. What's new?
Thank you, Jesse. Happy Thursday to you. I'm been busy. Been working a lot on BDEX stuff, but also on two segment stuff. So, it's crazy having two businesses going at the same time. Launched some new features for agencies in the Shopify and Klaviyo space. So now an agency can go into two segment and manage multiple accounts for their clients within one account. So I think that's going to be really helpful for a lot of the agencies that will want to use two segment. We also have some new analytics, so they can share analytics on their customers with their clients. So yeah, a lot going on.
That is a lot. Wow. Well, looking forward to hearing more about two segment. But today on Deconstructing Data, we have another really interesting guest, actually back on the show. He was on the show in the first year of the podcast as our resident SEO expert, now coming back as I don't know, I'll have to ask him what he uses: GEO, AEO, AISEO. There's all these words now. Acronyms, which one do we use? But it's Chris Rodgers. He is the founder and CEO of CSP Agency in Colorado. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, Chris, I'm glad to have you back on the show. Welcome back. But for those of our viewers and listeners that didn't hear you on the first time you were on the show, why don't you give them a chance to get to know you a little bit about your history, what led you to build CSP Agency, and a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Chris Rodgers. I'm the founder and CEO of CSP Agency. I founded the business in 2012. I actually started in corporate marketing and sales in Chicago for RH Donnelly. So they were the publishers of the Yellow Pages, and I was there, basically marketing and selling advertising programs to small, medium-sized businesses when they came out with their first digital product, and it was an automated PPC product. And there were these landing pages that they would push their PPC traffic to. And I discovered that these pages were actually indexed, and some of these pages ranked really, really highly. And I discovered some crude early SEO. This was like in 2006 or 7. And I started optimizing these web pages for my customers. And I saw the sheer amount of business that it was driving. And so that was really my motivating factors to break out on my own. Flip my 401k for a social media and travel startup in the ski and snowboard industry, while also working part-time as a senior SEO analyst for an agency executing SEO. And then ultimately launched what was Colorado SEO Pros in 2012. SEO first, SEO advanced agency, where we were really ahead of the curve, which back then was just, we would design websites based on how people searched instead of optimizing what was already there. At the time, that was really innovative. So we went from early on being a local. We were going to kind of attack the Colorado market, and within the first probably 8 months, we started getting business from all over the country and even internationally after doing SEO for our own site. So fast forward, that was 2012. We're now in our 13th year. I command a small but highly experienced team of SEO and geo strategists, and we describe ourselves as the human first AI enhanced geo and SEO agency for B2B and e-commerce. The big exciting thing in our world is geo, generative engine optimization, or AEO, as some people call it, or the other kind of subset. Launched our program. I started building it about a year ago, and then October we launched our first paid program. January we launched our first enterprise geo program, and now coming full circle, we've now developed a bunch of case studies, our proprietary human first geo framework, and yeah, we're off to the races in the new world of AI search.
Off to the
That's,
races.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And I'm looking forward to this because, you know, we talked a little bit before the show about some of the differences between SEO and GEO, and AI search, whatever you want to call it. We'll figure that out as we go. So jumping into our first topic, let's talk a little bit about this, why SEO alone is no longer enough in an AI driven search. So talk to us about that and what's different.
Yeah, so if you look at the usage of ChatGPT, it's exploded. I think it's 1 in 10 adults on Earth use ChatGPT in some way. We've got now, I think, between 40 and 60% of queries on Google are resulting in an AI overview, that conversational answer. And Google is quickly pushing people into AI mode. There are over a billion searches, I think, a month within AI mode. So we are moving into a conversational interface, and that's going to happen. That's going to happen real quick here. On the heels of that, we're going to be in the agentic web. Things are moving very quickly, but the bottom line is your ranking on Google is not going to get you everything that you need. SEO is still very important. That foundation is absolutely critical. We have a big correlation between what is ranking and in Google's index, in Bing's index for ChatGPT, in Brave's index for Claude. There's a big correlation. So the LLMs will go in and retrieve a lot of those results, and that's where they're pulling from. But we've also got a lot of cases where ranking number one on Google just does not guarantee that you're going to be in the answer. And so we're moving from frankly, a referral traffic driver to an influence game. We're going to be influencing the buyer's journey, influencing our customers, but there's a big shift that's taken place for sure, and we've got to go above and beyond what we're doing on SEO.
So on that topic, help me understand a little more in depth of like what we need to be doing differently for AI search versus typical SEO.
Yeah, so if we look at GEO, and there is a lot of confusion and disagreement on the acronyms. A lot of people use AEO in place of GEO. A lot of people differentiate that AEO is really about just the direct answer systems, not necessarily influencing, the training data and things at a deeper level. But nevertheless, the three pillars of GEO are accessibility, owned media, and earned media. Accessibility is very much paralleled with our technical SEO, except the difference is we've got to deal with a lot more bots, right? ChatGPT is 3 different bots. Claude has multiple bots. We've got to test for different things. A lot of them are really primitive, can't handle 404s, really struggle with JavaScript, those types of things. When we look at owned media, there is a need to dial in deeper into your audience, the problem solution fit, and the specific use cases for the problems you solve for your audience, right? So if we look at it from a B2B perspective, if you are a professional services or a SaaS, you probably got solutions, right? You may have certain industries that you serve, right? So you might have an industries section, you might have a solution section, but you may need to go deeper and look at industry specific solutions. What do those applications look like for those people? Who are those personas? Like, what are the titles? What problems does it solve for those specific personas? When we look at how LLMs function, I imagine you guys use LLMs quite a bit. Your viewers do too. Obviously, they learn about you. If you're using it for business, they're learning about the challenges that you're trying to solve, the problems that you have, your role. So when they go out and look for solutions on your behalf, they're looking for that on the nose, one-to-one problem solution fit. So if you're solving a problem for a CTO at a SaaS company within a specific industry, and you have whether it's a solution page or whether it's a blog or a use case page that specifically calls out how you solve those problems for that person in that industry, the LLMs light up. One-to-one connection, you have the solution for that person with that problem. So on the owned media side, I would say that that's one of the bigger shifts. And there's also a lot of importance on your middle of funnel going into bottom of funnel. Top of funnel is still important, but we want to be there when those decision making in those decision making phases. It's really important. And then I'm kind of going on monologue, but the last one is earned media. And on the earned media, we categorize in geo everything in earned media that's off page. That includes pay to play and some stuff that aren't in the typical PR earned media. But once you've developed everything out on your site, the who you are, who you serve, what you solve, with specificity, you now need to make the internet agree with that story, which means you need to gain consensus across the board so that everything is consistent. Everyone's singing from the same songbook about your brand, your audience, the problems you solve, and the proof points. So your case studies and that kind of thing.
Yeah, interesting. So, and I've heard that before, and I think that that's one of the bigger challenges, right? Because, like, I'll give one example. A lot of people talk about how Reddit has basically sold all of its data and selling all of its data. So if you're being talked about on Reddit, then good, bad, ugly, no matter what it is, that is going to be used heavily by the LLMs. But Reddit is one of those places where, it has to be pretty organic, because if you go in there and try to push yourself, you get pushed out pretty quickly, right?
Yes. I mean, there are ways to navigate those things. We have a Reddit program in beta right now that we're running, and there are some solutions out there. But I mean, it's ultimately about that alignment. So we have our process is called the Human First Geo Framework. That's our proprietary process on how we align with our clients' unique value proposition, their audience, problem, solution, fit. That feeds into identifying specific human factors that are directly related to buying decisions. And then from that, we conduct our prompt engineering process. We then go in and track all those prompts against competitors. We look for the gaps, and then we execute that an owned and earned media campaign as part of that process. So when you're thinking about how you're approaching geo, I think it's really important that you start really with the humans, right? No matter what changes on this technology, we're still going to have a human on one end that has needs, right? And we're going to have some providers of products or service on the other ends where there's humans. And understanding how we meet those needs is the connection where we need to focus. So there's a core of marketing that is going to exist there, no matter what changes on the technology. So I think that's really the key, starting with those human problems, where you really win, where you really help people, and then having that be the foundation that you move forth with your own content, earned content, prompt engineering.
What about like old school keyword research and people looking at volume of like long tail keywords? Is that still relevant, or like can you look those up and consider them for the LLMs? Does it help? Or
so a couple things. One, because SEO is still your foundation, when you're doing SEO, all those search volumes are still very valid, right? Like when we go in and we've got a lot of people reaching out to us for geo, but the truth is we've got to do an audit across SEO and geo, and we've got to solve their SEO problems. SEO is a lot easier than it has been in the past with LLMs. It just is. Finding the data, finding the work streams, the strategies, all that is easier. Here's the challenge with trying to get prompts from keywords. when we look at keywords, there is a source of truth, right? We've got Google Ads, right? That was the source of truth that gave us search volumes. With prompts, we don't have that source of truth. And if you have a keyword, like a money keyword, you might have 10,000 prompts that could come off of that. So how are you anchoring that on anything that makes sense? And so it's the biggest, I would say the largest challenge I had when developing our current framework was prompt engineering. And I spent months and months going back and forth, actually with one of our first clients, going through the prompt process and refining it. And what we landed on was the human first geo framework. So the foundation is truly within our clients, their customers, the problems they solve, and actual human attributes and things that they have access to in their business intelligence. That is the grounding. So for us, we still use keywords in part of our process. So there is a little bit of like a gut check within there, but I don't think you can just use keywords to try to get prompts. I think it's too messy, too much data, and it's too cost prohibitive to track the number of prompts you would have to track in order to work it from a keyword perspective.
Crazy. Yeah, interesting. I think that we kind of touched on the next subject a little bit, but let's jump right into it and dig in deeper. What data and authority signals AI search engines actually use? So we talked a little bit about the earned media and things like that, but can you dig in a little deeper to this one?
Yeah, so I mean, there are SEO factors there, right? You being able to have SEO, have a keyword footprint, things that you rank for. There's signals, authority signals that you have in SEO that make a difference, right? The links that you have coming in from different places online, those things still matter. When you get to consistency is a really important thing, right? So really making sure that your message of who you are as a company, who your audience is, your products, solutions, services, and the problems that you solve, and proof points are really important, and having data for that, right? So for a B2B space, like case studies are huge, and being able to tie that back to what you do, right? So basically it tells a story that, hey, we solve this problem for these type of people in this industry. Here's the case study with actual numbers that prove that out, right? And then that has to be consistent on across your site, but then on the earned media side as well. So it is, what are all the places that are talking about you today? Your G2, your Clutch, your Crunchbase profile, right? Like, where are all the places that your brand lives, where it's talking about your brand? It should all be consistent, telling the same story with all the same proof points. And then certainly as you get into the consensus building, yes, what is it saying out on Reddit about you? What's being said in the media? What's being said on all different podcasts about who you are, what you do, who you serve, right? So it is about that consistency, retelling that same story across the broader ecosystem. So those are the signals. So you've got SEO as your core signals, and then you've got consistency and audience, problem, solution, fit alignment on your site, and then consistency across the greater web. And then, ultimately the name of the game is maybe you're out there pushing that earned media, you're pushing that story, that getting that consistency. And then what you want is the feedback loop that happens where now people start promoting it for you, right? You're now creating buzz that is self-replicating because now people are naturally, organically talking about it on Reddit. You have customers and there's buzz and, social media that starts replicating it.
I can definitely see that those authority signals adding a lot of value because I think that was sort of trending on the SEO side anyway. And so I think for geo, it's kind of the same thing and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. What other data and authority signals are out there about like being on podcasts? I mean, you mentioned owned media.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so really it's going to depend on, so when we go through our process, we're identifying anywhere from the top 100 to the top 1,000 prompts that are the highest priority for our clients, that are aligned with, their prioritization for business, personas, stage of the buyer's journey, different buying situations. And then ultimately, after we do that, we are going to be able to identify all of the sources that are being cited on LLMs, right? So then that gives us the actual list. And so now we have an idea for all the places that are being tapped that we can influence, right? So it is, there's kind of two sides to it. You can publish and promote content from the channels that you have access to, but it's also identifying the ones that are out there that are already being cited. And what you'll often find is that there are going to be sources on there that you already have relationships with, or that you're aware of. They could be affiliates. They could be different directories that maybe were ones that you advertised on before, right? And then so being able to go in and then strategically optimize specific websites and web pages that we know are being sourced, ends up being a key part of that process. So the signals are really diverse, and they're going to be different for every brand and the prompts that you're targeting. But there is a method to go in and identify what sources the LLMs are preferring and sourcing, so that you can influence those.
Yeah, makes sense. Absolutely. Well, we should jump into our next topic, so we don't run out of time.
Oh, wow, 4:40.
Yep. So talk to us about this, connecting SEO, PR, and data to drive measurable results.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, SEO has to be your foundation. And as of today, you're still going to drive way more direct traffic, or I should say referral traffic from SEO, coming from the search engines to your site, than you are going to AI traffic, right? So there's still a tremendous amount of both opportunity and value to doing SEO, doing traditional SEO. Difference is you got to raise the bar way higher on content than you did before, right? AI has made it really easy to go out there and produce content. Google has released some official guidance on not creating commoditized content. So anything that you just produced with AI is going to be commoditized. It is content that is recycled from the Chat GPT or whatever LLM. It is recycled from its knowledge base and whatever it might go and research from the internet. But the point is, it already exists, so the value is fairly low. So specific to SEO, one thing that I would put here is really important, integrating real human expertise. You think about your EAT signals: expertise, experience, authority, trust. You've got to get expert level quotes in there. You've got to get expert insights. You've got to get original data whenever you can, so that piece of content and the content you're creating has something called gain of information. It's how much new information are you contributing to the system, and that has a particular value on that content. So just important caveat with SEO, the bar has been raised with the content that you're creating. When we look at PR, PR is huge. There's going to be a renaissance around PR here, because going out and being able to influence authoritative media sites. So we do digital PR on our end as part of our Geo program, and we have different layers of digital PR. So we have really your thought leadership that could be contributed articles, it could be podcast, it could be types of PR where you control the narrative, right? Again, contributed articles, bylines, op-eds, right? And those are the ones that you can most directly align with your geo strategy, with different buying situations, with prompts. And then we have your like pitching and bylines and those kinds of things where you're pitching topics to journalists, but they ultimately have the narrative. You're still going to get important backlinks and you're going to get brand mentions. So all of that stuff has a really big impact. The important thing for us is that we are closely aligning that strategy with what we're doing on the geo side, right? All goes back to those, the problem solution fit of our client, what that brand is about, who it serves. We now want to replicate that out through earned media. And then what was the last one? And data. Well, data has definitely shifted in the geo world, and unfortunately, it has not gotten better. And that's the reality. Can we track referral traffic from AI? 100% we can. Can we track revenue from that? Totally, we can. We can track our conversions. We can get direct attribution that way, but only a small percentage of the opportunities that are coming from LLMs are going to come in as referral traffic. And that's because as people go through the buyer's journey within an LLM, within a conversational interface, once they get down to bottom of funnel, it is common that they are then going back to a traditional search engine to do those final searches. So what we would expect to happen is that your actual brand search increases, right? We would expect that your direct traffic potentially would increase. So direct attribution is messy. For geo, we look at share of voice, right? The percentage of brand mentions versus your competitors. We look at your brand mentions and brand mention rates versus competitors. We look at citations, right? The number of times that your content is being cited within sources, all the competitive information, and then AI traffic and AI referral. And then when you get into, like on the B2B side, getting direct qualitative data from sales teams as things go from MQL to SQL, that's really valuable. Getting drop downs in your forms. So we almost have to go a little bit more old school on some of that tracking to get qualitative data to bring in the mix. With e-commerce, having drop downs maybe in your checkout, those kinds of things. I'm hoping we get more data as more of the LLMs roll out advertising. I don't expect a lot more from Google. They I think got burned on SEO, so they're not trying to usher in SEO 2.0 with AI search. They're actually opposite. They're trying to throw SEO off the scent in pretty obvious ways.
David's on mute.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so one of the things you mentioned in there, well, first of all, it's interesting and poignant to say that all of these things are connected. And so it's really, I think it's important for people to understand that like no one thing, SEO, PR, data, the earned media, like there's no one thing. It's all connected and it's all part of one, what should be sort of your master plan, right? But one thing that I found really interesting, especially since here we are on a podcast, is you said podcast. So I'm curious, are you telling me that the LLMs are actually taking these podcasts and converting them into transcripts and getting the content out of them? And that.
What I would say is there's certain platforms that get picked up really well. So like YouTube is picked up really well, and it's obviously it's a Google property. So taking your podcasts and aligning them with what you're doing in a geo strategy in terms of the topics, the questions, and then having that published on YouTube. Yes, I think there's a distinct opportunity there. Going a step further, taking that and creating articles based on those podcasts that go on your website. Articles that would go in LinkedIn Pulse would also be a great idea. And if you've got the tech stack built out, you're going to track all of these different things and see how they have an impact.
Very interesting. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So good. Everyone needs to know this stuff these days. And it's good to know that some of the traditional SEO stuff is still just as important. But in terms of connecting SEO, PR, and data to drive measurable results, do either of you have anything else you want to get into before we move on? If not, I'm going to
Um,
transition into tech stack.
yeah, let's do
We
it.
want to know, what are your new favorite tools in your tech stack, Chris?
Yeah, well, I just alluded to one of them, and we have a couple different platforms we use for geo. We use Athena HQ, and we use Noatoa. Those are two. We use SEMrush for SEO. Not a fan for them for AI search, but maybe that'll change in the future. We've partnered very closely with Athena HQ and been able to get a lot of our features that we've requested and things implemented. It's an extremely powerful platform. And then Claude, we've got all types of stuff built out in Claude. So we've really moved in. We're still human first, but I would describe us as that human first AI enhanced. So you can think Sigourney Weaver and Aliens. All of our humans have the crazy exoskeletons when they're operating.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Athena HQ is not one I had seen, so I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
So those would be, I think that's the main on the tech stack. I mean, we've got stuff that we use for design, but we're doing a ton of stuff in Claude these days, and really building out, in terms of skills and workflows and integrating with code, and there's just a ton of things that are possible now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's great that you're building out with Claude. I think that's just keeping up. But yeah, there's a lot of people who aren't doing that. So it's been great learning from you today and talking to you more about SEO and GEO. But in closing, Chris, if people wanted to connect with you afterwards, if they need help with all of this, how do they reach out to you?
I think best would be on our website, csp.agency. We do a limited number of geo SEO audits each month, where we go in and we run a sample of prompts through the LLMs for people versus their competitors. We look at share of voice, brand mentions, citations. We look at individual prompts, how people are showing up, where the gaps are, that kind of thing. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, but admittedly, I don't check it and I kind of get overloaded in there, but I'm always happy to connect on LinkedIn too.
Sounds good, Chris. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. This has been great. Great to have you on for a second time, and dig deeper into these topics. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Big thanks, Chris. I'll go ahead and close us out with the video, and we'll see you backstage. So audience members, we want to invite you to get powered by BDEX. Build authentic connections with your audience and drive unprecedented engagement. So just imagine harnessing the power of AI to craft your audiences that truly resonate with your brand, ensuring that your marketing is hitting the mark every time. We want to bring you closer to those marketing goals, and we're eager to guide you. So just visit bdex.com. You can click on the Talk to an Expert button and get powered by BDEX. Deconstructing Data is the show that makes data make sense. Every Thursday, David Finkelstein and myself, Jesse Lezak, sit down with industry experts to unpack how data really drives marketing. We do this in plain language anyone can understand. If you want real insights, real conversations, and zero jargon, tune into Deconstructing Data, live on LinkedIn every Thursday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time.